Well, let me welcome all of you to our General Assembly here in 2020. Um, we have a rather strange General Assembly because, of course, the circumstances are forcing us to have it on Zoom. You know, we had it planned in a different way, and we were really trying, I think, every possibility to either postpone it or come to a better solution of finding it. But I think this is the best we can do. And please allow me in the beginning just to say a very, very heartfelt word of thanks, especially to Emma, but also to Peter in preparing this General Assembly, because I know it was incredibly complicated. And I think also from the technological point of view, they have done the best that anybody can come up with. So I want to thank you really from all my heart, because I know it's very complicated. And I think we will be able to have a good General Assembly, although it might be type of a rump General Assembly, and we will have more meetings with more contents. But now we have to do some administrative points, which are really most important to do. Let me say in the beginning, after really welcoming all of you, um, it makes this type of General Assembly makes it possible that we are all in different places. I am actually personally sitting at Istanbul airport. I am on my way going to Turabin, which is on the Syrian border here in Turkey, and visit the Syrian Orthodox minorities there. And I think it is just absolutely unbelievable what can be seen there from the cultural point of view. And it allows me to be here and try and guide as much as I can from the airport of Istanbul. But I have to put a little caveat there, which is we all know that technology might fail. My fallback position is if anything is happening with what I am doing in trying to lead the General Assembly, I know that Peter will take over respectively when it has to do anything with elections. Emma will take over, since Emma is in no position. Emma has the technical background, and she is not in a position where she's getting elected for anything. So she would then take over in this case. So this is just a little point in the beginning. Allow me to start with a couple of housekeeping points, so to say, in this connection. One is, I think I have seen that most of you have already switched their cameras off. It's specifically for those areas that have a internet connection that is not the best one, that the less moving pictures we have, the better it is. So if you're listening to it, that's great. But if you switch your cameras off, whenever it's not needed, unless you're speaking. So I think that is helping a lot. I have to mention, and I think that's very important, but you have been told about this before by Emma, that the General Assembly is being recorded, of course, for those who cannot attend, and that basically we have a recording for posterity of it. So we were already writing to you beforehand that if you have a problem with it being reported, that you would let us know. I don't think we have heard any problem with it. I just wanted to point out that it is being recorded, and you can also see it on your screen that is being recorded. One point to questions. As you know, communication on Zoom is not as easy as it is in person. It's very difficult to see reaction of people, so it is very difficult to ask questions. So we have been asking you, if there are questions coming up, to ask them via the chat version. And if there is time, we can answer those questions, and we'll work as much around that as we can. But you know the limits of this type of communication. So please bear with us in that difficulty and help us that we can do and have a productive and sensible general understanding on how we are working. So Emma is the administrator for the meeting and also for the voting, as I mentioned before, because she cannot vote herself, so she can be in that position. And in the event of any technical problems, Peter will then administer the meetings, and also Manana, because she's also not standing for elections, will then oversee the elections in case if I am dropping out for some technical reason, which I really don't hope it's going to happen, but I think it's always good to have a plan B. I hope you have checked your technology, because it will be very difficult to fix any point during the General Assembly. I think the information that has been sent out beforehand by Emma is very precise, and I really hope we can work it out. Especially Peter will in a moment explain the election process one more time, and we will be able to see how that works. But it will be very difficult to fix something during the election, during the General Assembly. One point I would like to point out is that when we have the election of the board, we have decided, and I hope this finds your support, is that the number of votes will not be released. We will only talk about those people that have been elected. Of course, the number of votes is going to be saved online, and if anyone wants to see the exact number of votes, then he can absolutely request this from the board, and it's there to see. But we're not going to talk about the number of votes online. We'll just see who gets elected and how this is working out. We have been also looking at one potential problem, and I'm just mentioning it here right in the beginning. If in the vote there is for some reason a tie, meaning that the vote is not completely conclusive, then I will have to ask Emma to try and arrange a new vote, which will take a couple of minutes. But in the unlikely event that there is a tie, we will have the possibility to basically arrange, Emma has the possibility to arrange a new vote. I think these are my housekeeping points. I would just like to say a couple of personal remarks in the beginning before we are diving right into our agenda. And I am saying these points right now because since I know that there might be difficulties with the technology and I might not be there at the right moment to say that. And that's why I would like to make a couple of personal remarks in the beginning. First of all, I want to really thank all of you for these incredible years we have behind us and for the work you were allowing me to do and for the progress we have been making in Blue Shield and for the changes we have been doing to Blue Shield to make it more effective and to make it broader. I really can't tell you how grateful I am and how enriching it was for me also personally to work with all of you at the time when I had the honor to be the president of Blue Shield. Since I'm not running for office anymore, and we have only one candidate for the presidency, which is Peter Stone. In this connection, I would also like to say a couple of words to him, and I hope you forgive me for kind of taking this beforehand. I should probably say this just before the election to the president, but I'll put it right in the beginning because I think it is important to say. I want to say that I am very grateful to Peter that he has suggested that he follows me in the position as the president. I mean, I have so many years of collaborating and working with Peter, and I have seen his unbelievable diligence. I have seen his knowledge in the field, his ability to communicate with everybody, his possibility to be reached whenever it's necessary. I have seen so many positive and really great traits in Peter that I can really not think of anybody better to fulfill this function and to bring also Blue Shield to an absolute new level, which I'm sure he will do with the support that he has been bringing through his work that he has been doing with Newcastle University, the UNESCO chair, all the type of work that has been going into that. I have to say I am very grateful, and I absolutely wholeheartedly and with all conviction I am supporting his running for the presidency. This is not an election campaign that I'm running here. These are not election bursts. Since he's the only candidate, I assume he will be elected. But I really want to say on how much I am appreciating the fact that Peter is taking on the baton, is running with it, and will definitely carry on Blue Shield and bring Blue Shield to a new level. And as a personal point, before we go into the agenda directly, let me also say that apart from the way how grateful I am that I was able to do this work and that I was able over the time to introduce especially the collaboration with the, let's say, all the blue light organizations, especially with the military in a much stronger way, to make help in the training programs that could be developed, the collaboration with UN institutions. in all these type of ways. As much as it was enriching, I of course will very happily also be available in the future. Although I don't have a function anymore, wherever I can help, I'll be totally happy to do it. I promised this also to Peter. And of course, Blue Shield has always been and is something which is extremely close to my heart. So I'll definitely stay there, whatever I can do. And if you think I can help in some way, I'd be delighted to be there and help with that. And I just wanted to mention this also here right in the beginning, since I will have no more function afterwards. Good. So I think let's dive straight into the agenda. I know that Peter and Emma have foreseen that we might have the possibility to run the entire General Assembly within 2 hours and a half. I think this is a worst case scenario, because I know very well from experience for the last couple of months from different conferences and meetings and assemblies that we definitely should try to, if all the voting system works, which I assume it will because it has been prepared by Emma, that we will be able to kind of handle everything in an hour, hour and a half. I'm pretty sure about that. But let's say if worst comes to worst, we have a longer time of working on that. Before handing over the word to Peter, let me just say one thing which kind of relates to an experience for the last couple of weeks. We had 3 weeks ago this absolutely incredible catastrophe in Beirut. We had this explosion like none of us living on this planet has possibly seen before. And I had the possibility to go to Beirut and visit the situation firsthand. And I'm very, very grateful to Blue Shield and the other organizations in Beirut, and of course to Joanne, everybody else involved there, to prepare that and do an absolutely incredible work in place. Because for me, being in Beirut showed to me absolutely the importance and exactly the role that Blue Shield can play in a catastrophe like this. I mean, we have been working, probably you have seen it on the website, but you will see more about it, a damage assessment platform in which a lot of volunteers are putting the damages, where we can see the progress of the work that is done on those cultural sites that are damaged, which is a comprehensive platform which will give us a great report at the end, and where we can see the role of Blue Shield being right there after something catastrophic is happening, but also with an exit plan of being out and thinking about the time when other organizations might be taking over. I think that is something, when we look at what happened in Beirut, we have a great role model for the future. We have, and I'm sorry of seeing something positive in that catastrophe which has happened there, but I think it is an incredible learning process that we can do in Blue Shield. And with all the Blue Shield collaborators, and also Peter has been incredibly active in preparing everything that is being done in Beirut currently through Blue Shield. I'm very grateful for that, and I see something positive in it, and I see a possibility to learn from it, to come out of it. And the role of Blue Shield and the necessity of Blue Shield activities has hardly ever been seen with such an importance and such a clearness as we have seen it just in the last couple of weeks in Beirut. So this is a very recent experience that I would like just to mention here, but we might be having a time to talk one or two more things about it, and also Peter might be saying one or two more words about it. And with that, I think I will hand over to Peter and ask him to explain the proceeding of our agenda. So please, Peter.
Okay, thank you, Carl. My apologies to everybody for that length of time to re-click. I hope everybody can hear me. Carl, will you just wave your hand if you can hear me? Yes, okay, thank you. So I'm assuming everybody else can. If you can't hear me by any chance, please just put a note into the chat line. My main role now is simply to hand over to Emma, who will guide us through with a quick PowerPoint as to everything that's going to happen over the next, as Carl says, we hope not much longer than an hour, hour and a half at most. I suppose the only key thing for me to do is firstly to thank Carl for that introduction about me, which was rather embarrassing, but also for all of the time that he has spent working on Blue Shield over the last years. So thank you to Carl for that. And I think with that, I'm just going to hand on to Emma. And we are already, according to my timetable, still about, we've still got about 5 minutes of this introductory period left. So Emma, over to you.
Hi everybody, it's lovely to see you. Thank you all so much for playing with technology and getting this to work. So I just have a few points of housekeeping, which is how I hope this works. Okay, hopefully you've got this now. Yeah, so we're trying to keep cameras and microphones off. Thank you all for that. For anybody not familiar with Zoom, you should be able to see at the bottom of your screen, you either have a little chat icon, which looks like a speech bubble, and if you can't see it, it should be in the More function, and that will take you into a chat window where messages will appear, or anything you want us to see as well. I just have to remind everybody that when we download this meeting at the end, it does record all the chats, including ones you send to each other. That facility is there as well. Oops, sorry, there we go. I do suggest, if you want to, that the very top of your screen, and it's on different sides, if you have an Apple device or a Windows device, you can switch between speaker view and gallery view. We think speaker view is better because you get a bigger view of what's going on rather than our heads all being very tiny. So the way we're going to run today is we've got voting using Election Runner. We will do the voting in 3 blocks. The first one is administrative issues, because obviously we need to approve the agenda for the meeting and so on. Then people will present the reports and papers and we vote to approve those. And then the third one is candidate presentations, and then we'll vote to elect a new board. Hopefully you all got your personalized agenda with a voting link. This gives you your URL, your link to the internet to vote, your ID and your password, and we'll say, please click now. It should look like this. If you've got Word, obviously you can press Control and click with your mouse, or you can right click and open hyperlink. And if you're on a mobile device, you should just be able to tap it, and that will take you directly to the voting platform. If not, you might need your ID and password, but it shouldn't even need that. And you just basically will see a screen that looks a bit like this, where you can choose to vote for your candidate or abstain, or to approve the reports, yes, no, or abstain. And then at the bottom, submit your ballot. For the elections, obviously, you can only pick one person for president. You can choose between 0 and 4 for the board from the national committees. And obviously the founding 4 delegates, we sent you the biographies, but they're not elected positions. We just wanted you to know who is on the board. We have the last biographies now. I'm going to put them all on the website either later today or early next week, so you'll be able to see the full board then. And I'd like to say thank you to Emily, who will be representing the ICA again next year, which is brilliant to hear. When you click submit ballot on your choices, it will say, are you sure? So you do have the chance to double check. You can't just make an accidental click and press the wrong thing. And then I will see when you've all voted. I just get a little green tick next to your names. There's no, it keeps it all anonymous. We won't be keeping this open more than 10 minutes. And if I haven't heard from you, to get the green tick within about 8 minutes, I'll remind you. But after that, I'm afraid to keep this running to time, we will have to close it if there are technical problems. I'm really sorry. And then I'll let you know what the results are. If we do have a tie, I'll make another vote very, very quickly and send that out to you all, and you'll get the voting details in the email that you've nominated to me. If you are using the app, some people said, the Election Runner app literally just lets you find the votes, the voting block. So you search for Blue Shield voting block 1, and you will find it, but that will still just take you straight to the online platform to vote anyway. I would advise not using it, because if there is a tie, it can take at least 30 minutes for an election I create to appear on the app. And that means that if we have a tie and I create something there and then, you probably won't be able to access it before the General Assembly finishes. So it's better to use it live if you can. And that's all the tech stuff. Hopefully that's clear. It should be pretty straightforward. Thank you very much. It's lovely to have you all here, and I will pass that back now.
Okay, Emma, thank you very much indeed for that. So the block one voting that we have now is for two things. Firstly, we have to approve the agenda and adopt the agenda as you have it. Hopefully that will be very straightforward. The second thing that we have to do now is vote on the start dates of the terms of office of members of the board. This is something that has been referred back to us by our Dutch lawyers, and it has come about because there was a gap between the meeting in Rome in 2014, where we elected a new board, and the actual passing into Dutch law of the Articles of Association, which only happened in 2016 for various reasons, which we won't go into now. So the question in front of us, which the Dutch lawyers, as I say, have sent back to us, from a legal point of view, it is entirely up to the General Assembly to decide which way they want to take this. But to say whether those people voted in 2014, and I think there are a couple on the board there, should be seen to have been voted in 2014, or whether they should only be starting their time on the board once the legal statutes, the Articles of Association, became law. In other words, starting their time on the board in 2017 at the next phase of elections. Really, there is little in this for anybody. I won't lead you particularly on this, and it is entirely up to those of you how you wish to vote on that. And those are the only two votes in block one voting. So with that explanation, I hope, which is clear enough, I pass back to Emma just to confirm and ask you all to send, or for Emma to send you off to vote. But over to Emma briefly.
No, I have nothing to say. Please click your links. I hope this works. Okay, well, it is working. This is a good start. Excuse me.
I feel we should have arranged some music or something in this interlude, but I won't offer to sing to you all.
Yeah, we do kind of need hold music. But then it would just kind of end up being elevator music. How are we doing?
Andrea, you have just suggested that I do sing, but you haven't heard my voice.
Could be the new president initiation ritual.
It could be.
I think if we talk about singing or music, we would have to have a vote on the singing, which would take us an extra 30 minutes in kind of creating the special vote for which type of music we are going to listen to. So that might not be such a good idea.
Absolutely.
Hang on. So just smoothing out a couple of things with the online system. Nearly all there. One, two, three, four, 7 to come in from people I'm fairly sure are here. Although on that, whoever is username iPhone, could you just drop me a private message so I can tick you off against the members that are present, please? Okay, I'm going to start sending messages to people who it doesn't seem to have registered your vote. So in the chat window, you'll just get a little private message popping up now to say that you're one of the ones that hasn't registered. So could you click it again in case? I'll mute it so that you can't.
Hello, 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 hello.
Hi. Who's this? Sorry. Whoever that was, I could hear you. There are 3 more, and then we can give it a couple more minutes. So there is one person who's just having problems accessing it, but otherwise I think it is it has been 10 minutes, and we did say we would try to keep this to time, so we weren't all on Zoom all afternoon. If it is okay with Peter and Carl, I suggest we close the voting now and in the background I will try and get the one technical person working for the next set of voting.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the way to go. So do you want to let us know the results?
Hang on, I have to go into the button and find the button that says close voting. Give me a second because I've only done this one. There it is, close election. Okay, results say everybody who voted is happy to approve the agenda. You will be pleased to know. And the option has been voted for to start terms of office in 2017.
Okay, thank you very much. And to save time, shall we just therefore move into the presentations for the next block? Thank you, Carl. And so I'm going to do the brief presentation of the report of the board. I'm not going to repeat everything you've all been circulated with the written report. I'm just going to pick out a couple of things and to bring you up to date with a couple of things. So first is we now have actually 27 registered national committees, and we've got 3 and almost a half as registered since 2017. So we welcome as new committees Peru, Greece and Lebanon, and the half, because we haven't been able to have a revision of the Articles of Association, we have got Blue Shield Pacifica on ice at the moment. All of their documentation is fine, everything is there. But as they are a network of different states, 7 different countries of the island states of the Pacific, we actually have to modify the Articles of Association to allow a network in. So they are there in everything, but actually the final rubber stamp, which unfortunately means they can't vote today, but they are with us. So hello, Elizabeth, and good to have you on board. We also have at the moment 5 other national committees under construction, and we've got 3 representatives from 3 of those. We've got representatives from 3 of those, Niger, Mozambique, and the Ukraine, with us today. So welcome to you all for those. And over the last 12 months, we've had expressions of interest from 10 further countries. And the really bit of this that I like is that none of those are in Western Europe. They are a global mix of countries, showing how global we really are becoming. And those expressions of interest, I hope, will have turned into real new national committees in the not too distant future. So that's just by way of update. A couple of things I want just to pick out in terms of the written report that you've received. Firstly, the website and social media. You'll see that we've now got, we've had over the last 12 months over 10,000 website hits, which is fantastic. We have over 1,000 followers on Twitter, which is astonishing. We've got nearly 1,000 on Facebook. We have got nearly 600 on LinkedIn now. And all of those are just building the profile of Blue Shield so that, and this is something I'm going to be returning to throughout the afternoon, if we can raise that profile, we raise the opportunity of actually attracting external funding for us. So if you haven't linked with any of those social media sources, please do so, and please tell your family and friends that they are really interesting and useful things, and please get them to register with them as well. With all of that social media work, I'd like to just pick out 3 people to say really thank you to. Marlene Kostler from the Blue Shield Denmark, who helped an enormous amount. Angela from Blue Shield Netherlands, and who's not been overly well over the last few months, but is now on the road to recovery. And so we wish you well, Angela, but thank you for your help there. And also to Valentina, who many of you will remember helped us in the office a great deal over the years. So that's good. One other update, the UNESCO chair post that Paul Fox vacated in December, which was then held up because of COVID-19, has now been released by the university. We will be shortlisting for that post next week, and we hope to have the interviews in the third week of September. So that's another positive that's working there. We still intend to have a General Assembly, which will now be an extraordinary General Assembly in Prague, and a training program in September of next year. And Jana, thank you to you and to all of your team who've been working so hard in Prague to try and keep that alive and going. A critical thing that we've done over the last, in fact, it's come to fruition over the last few months, but it's been a lot of work getting there, is we now have 2.5 formal agreements with key institutions. We have a memorandum of understanding with the International Committee of the Red Cross. We have a letter of intent with NATO, and we now have the formal agreement that we will move to a framework agreement with UNESCO, and we are batting back and forth a draft of that framework agreement, which I hope will be able to be signed in the next couple of months, at worst weeks, if we can, and we hope that others will follow on that. The two final things I just want to flag are the main issue, which is we cannot rely on Newcastle, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. And so we do have to concentrate on finding external funding. We've also established the first of what I will guess will be a number of specialized working groups, this one on the trafficking of cultural property, where we brought expertise together to advise the board on that activity. And then, as Carl says, we have been extremely busy with all of the work over Beirut over the last 3 weeks. The first phone call I had with Joanne Farchek-Bajali, who's with us this afternoon from Beirut, was about 4 hours after the explosion. That mainly just checking that she and others of our friends and colleagues there were okay. But we have been closer, we've been in frequent contact on a daily basis ever since. And Blue Shield Lebanon have done a great deal of organizing of the 3 national committees of ICOMOS, ICOM and IFLA, in coordination with the DGA there and the UNESCO regional office there. We circulated to you all the preliminary assessment report that was completed on the 8th of August. We now can confirm we have got a $92,000 US grant from a combination of 4 funding agencies, the Prince Claus Fund, ALIF, the UK Cultural Protection Fund and the German Goethe Henkel Fund. We have launched the damage assessment platform with a template there, and it's not just the standard structural information and damage to objects and such, but that template has a special emphasis on the social and economic issues related to the explosion. The grant funding is specifically to make sure that the buildings that have been damaged and left without windows and doors are secured. We will be doing a comprehensive report following that. So there's a huge amount of work that's been done over the last 3 weeks by predominantly our colleagues in Lebanon, and we thank you all for that. Our wishes go to you, and our heartfelt wish that it had never happened goes to you. The damage has been appalling, but the way that the National Committee have responded, and we have therefore shown a template of what we are capable of. And I think that is extremely important. So those are the main issues I just wanted to flag and update the written report that you've all received. We had no comments or questions on that written report. So with that as an update, I'm going to stop there, and I'm not actually going to go through the annual report again. We had no questions on that. You can see what we have been aspiring to do. You'll see that we've been sidelined in a number of occasions by COVID-19, but we have got plans over the next few months to try and address those issues. So with that, I'm going to stop talking and ask Manana to take over and present the financial report for 2017-20. Manana.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you all for joining at this time of the hour. For many, quite odd. I'm really happy to see you all after so much preparation, and that we are finally all together here. So yes, I will be really brief. As much as I would like to talk more, there's really very little to report. As you have all seen, and it's also in your ballots, the financial report, just one page. You will see that as we started, or already in 2017, with the outgoing treasurer, we were informed that the organization was spending a lot of money on the upkeep of the bank account, of the Dutch bank account that the organization had at that moment, with very little money on it. So the decision was to terminate the account in order not to lose any more money and wait. And so that was done with the outgoing treasurer, Mr. Mickleby at that time, with the help of the Dutch National Committee, whom we thank, and they also offered to keep the remaining sum. So when the account was terminated, the National Committee of the Netherlands has taken the 183 euros that was remaining on the account and is keeping it until the moment when the Blue Shield has a new account of its own. So then we started researching as to where we could open a new account. Again, we approached the Dutch banks because the organization is registered in the Netherlands. Also, we looked at possibilities of opening one in the UK because the Secretariat is based there for the moment, and also in Georgia, where the treasurer at that time, myself, was based. But there were a lot of procedural and also financial requirements that for which we decided. We just said that until there is no prospect of having like regular funding, we will wait and not open a bank account, which really takes a lot of time to open, first of all, but also funds to upkeep and maintain. Yes, and so as you saw also in the report, for the reporting period, we didn't receive any direct funds, but of course we were greatly supported by the Newcastle University, not only funding the Secretariat and its travel, but also there were some direct, grants from the university that helped support small and big things, such as, for example, like Peter talked a lot about how the social media and the website became more popular. That was also in part due to this search engine optimization that we were able to do with the help of the university grant to hire specialists to do this, and also to purchase licenses, some sort of extra plugins for the website to make it more searchable and so on. And so for the moment, the website is website's domain is being paid by Blue Shield Lebanon, whom we thank gratefully. But also these grants that I mentioned from the Newcastle University, they help fund some of the travel also of Blue Shield representatives to the various exercises and workshops that were organized, and also for the organization of for example, my travel when we had to meet in Prague to discuss the organizational matters for the 2020 GA. Yes, and the more details are in the report. So I think shortly this is it from me. Thank you so much. If there is anything, if we have time, we'll try to answer in writing. Thank you.
Okay, Manana, thank you very much for that. We've had one question about what I was saying from, or I'm not actually sure, it's from the ICA team, asking why archives were not included in their Beirut work. They were very much, and they are very much. It's simply that they're, because of the way ICA works, there isn't a national committee in Lebanon, and the point I made was that the Blue Shield Lebanese National Committee had coordinated with the 3 other national committees that are in existence in Beirut. So ICOM, ICOMOS and IFLA. It's just that the ICA team, there isn't a national committee in Beirut, but IFLA and other archive colleagues have been working obviously closely with that that group. So that answers there. And
but have there been any attempts, Peter? It's Anthea Sellis. I'm the Secretary General for the International Council on Archives. So IFLA's included us in conversations, and so thank you to Gerald for doing that around Beirut and the Lebanon response for the documentary heritage community. So my question is, although there may not be an ICA representative on the National Committee, have there been any attempts made to reach out to the National Archives to find out what's happening?
Yeah, they are talking to them extensively. I mean, Carl may want to answer this because he was there last week. But yes, there is a lot of work there. It is simply the only reason that, sorry, this question has come up is simply because I was saying there are national committees of ICOM, ICOMOS and IFLA. There isn't a national committee of ICA. That's the only thing. They've been in contact. That group led by Blue Shield Lebanon have been in touch with a number of the archives and have been working with them. I don't know if you want to add to that, Carl.
Yeah, thank you very much. When we're talking about figures, we have been looking at the different institutions we are mentioning because there have been fixed figures about 8 museums that we have been working in as Blue Shield. We have been working in 12 libraries, and we have, to my knowledge, although I don't have the paper with me right now, we have also been working with 12 archives, if I know well, that we have been in touch with to see we are treating the archives exactly the same way as we are treating the other cultural affected institutions.
Okay.
This is Emily. If I can also chime in on this as the ICA rep for Blue Shield. As Anthea has pointed out, we have been in conversation. We were in conversation with more than 20 other people from UNESCO, the Prince Claus Fund, IFLA, as well as many other colleagues from Beirut. And I'm not quite sure the terminology of not having a national ICA team in Beirut when there are archives. There isn't a national archivist or archives that we have been able to get in touch with because of the explosion. However, we have made several attempts to reach out to our colleagues, and we are actively working to provide information and to work very closely with IFLA, because many of the archives are housed in libraries. But whatever ICA can do to be part of the entire global community's response, we want to be there and want to represent ICA in any applications for grant funding. I just don't think that as the founding four, that ICA should be not recognized as working, and that we should also be included in any projects that are taking place in Lebanon.
Carl.
Yes, I mean, I thank you very much for the statement and for the clarification that you've been giving. I know I have heard from quite a couple of colleagues that the ICA is currently trying to actually establish a national committee in Lebanon. And of course, we are treating in Lebanon the archives exactly the same way as the other cultural institutions. So there is no discrepancy here in this case. And Peter really, I think, only really meant the institution of the national committees. ICA just doesn't have a national committee, and they are in the creation. They are working on the creation, and so that's the situation there. But of course, archives are exactly on the Blue Shield agenda, as all other cultural institutions are too.
Okay, thank you. I'm happy to continue that conversation if you want, but I don't think we've got the time to do it in this forum. The last report to do is a report on the 2020 to 23 strategic plan. You again have had the written document circulated before this meeting. There is nothing changed with that. It is still working towards the same 6 areas of activity as we are asking everybody to do. We have kept it in the same order in terms of the Blue Shield International Board. And this obviously is a document prepared by the board, which is standing down at this General Assembly, and therefore will go to the first board meeting of the new board, and they may or may not wish to slightly adapt that. At the moment, the new board is scheduled to meet in early October, and assuming we keep to that timetable, then we'll circulate information and a final version of this strategic plan to everybody soon after that meeting. But we need to find out who's elected and then get everybody's timetables, etc. Okay, is that, I think that's everything there. So I think we can now go to the next stage of voting. Emma, do you want to say anything, or can we just go direct to the voting?
Please feel free. Vote, approve the reports, or abstain as you prefer. I've been asked, for those of you who can see in the chat, to release the results. I'm more than happy to do that. I'll put that on screen share for a few minutes now while you register your votes for block 1. She says trying to figure out how to screen share again, and then I'll have to take it off so I can check when the votes are coming in, because I obviously haven't got enough screens otherwise. But that is the results of block 1 for those who are asking. The only reason we didn't is it just seemed easier to do it, have them if people wanted them, which clearly you do. But when we were doing the candidates at the end, it was felt in the 27 elections that we should not have announced the number of votes each candidate got. Because whilst that was great if you were the most highly voted candidate, it was less great if you were the last voted candidate. And so the request was made in 2017 not to release the voting results. As you can see, I have a download link and publish them, and they will all be saved. So I will release this block and I will release the next block as we get them in. And then for block 3, I will have you can obviously see I've got the result, but it was felt quite awkward for the candidates if we did say the votes. So unless, if you would like me to, I will, please just say in the chat and I will share the block 3 results, but if not, I've got them, you can see here, I'm going to download them, it will all be saved, the board will have access to everything, and hopefully that's the balance between open and accessible. But if you do want to see them, let me know and I will make the 3rd block available as well, and hopefully that's fair for everybody.
Okay, thank you. So to voting.
Yes. Let's see if I can try and keep the screen sharing. So okay, if anybody wants me to keep the results of option 1 open, speak now. Otherwise, I'm going to close that screen so that I can look to see how we're doing on the current election, if that's okay. Put in the chat now, or I will have to take it off the screen. I hope that's okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you. 2 to come in. So there's just 2 people who haven't voted. I've sent you both a message in the chat privately. So just give it another minute or 2, and then I'm afraid we will have to close voting. Okay, so everybody has been told they've had a few minutes to click the votes. We have 2 that didn't come in, so let's hope this works. Settings. Okay, let's. The answer is, am I sure I'd like close? There we go. The report of the board and the 2020 annual report are approved by all those who voted. The financial report was approved by all but 1 person who abstained. The strategic plan was approved by 91% of the General Assembly, with 2 people did not approve it and 1 person who abstained. I will keep these results here. There will also be a link to them in the minutes, which will be circulated hopefully towards the end of next week, or actually presumably I will have to send them to the new board. I'll be honest, I haven't actually thought about the deadlines for that. You will all receive the minutes shortly, and I will make sure there is a link to all of the voting results in the minutes for you all to see. And by request, we'll probably release the third block as well. Which I believe brings us to back to Peter for block 3.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so the reason we said that we weren't going to release the actual numbers of the results of all of the voting is simply because that was what was decided by those present at the General Assembly in 2017. I am personally ambivalent as to whether we do or don't release those reports, or sorry, the actual numbers. The preponderance of those at this General Assembly appear to be wanting to have all of the information made available immediately. So while we are listening to the presentations from candidates, if you do not want the detail of the elections made public, then please put in a note into the chat. If everybody is happy with the details of the elections being made public, which seems to be the predominant view at the moment, then that's absolutely fine by me. As I say, we were going what everybody in 2017 had asked for those not to be made public. I'm more than happy to, obviously we take the view of the current General Assembly. If that's what you want to happen, that's what will happen. I have no view either way. So on that, I now just check that we've done the confirmation of votes for block 2. So we now move to the presentation from the candidate for president, which I presume must be me. I don't want to take too long about this, but as I said in my written statement, we've probably all heard the claim that the Blue Shield is the cultural equivalent of the Red Cross. As yet, that's not true, and it will never be true unless we work together now to build the foundations for our successors to be able to honestly claim that. That may take 50, 100 or more years. It certainly won't happen in my lifetime. But if we don't start now, it will never come true. So I'm standing for president with the conviction that this claim must become a reality, in the hope that I can help lay these foundations, and with the belief that the protection of the tangible and intangible heritage is of critical importance to individuals and communities globally. They lie at the heart of what it means to be human. As Vice President, I've helped lead the development of Blue Shield and its emergence as an international organisation, to the point where we now have formal agreements with the International Committee for the Red Cross, with NATO, and we have a framework agreement being drafted, as I've already mentioned, with UNESCO. That to me is just the start. We must continue to build a consensus with the heritage, humanitarian and military communities of the importance of and of their responsibilities regarding cultural property protection. We need to develop a much stronger media presence, even though we're going a long way for that already. And we must work from a secure and robust legal position. Critical to this will be the creation of a small permanent Blue Shield central team or office. Since 2016, we have benefited enormously from the existence of the UNESCO Chair in Cultural Property Protection and Peace team at Newcastle University. And here I must thank the university for its exceptional and unique support, without which we as Blue Shield simply would not be in our current situation. In particular, I'd like to thank Emma for all that she has done, way and above beyond what is in her job description, and beyond what anybody could reasonably expect of her. And I hope Nicholas forgives me at some point in the future, her 5-year-old. And also I thank Paul Fox for raising our standards regarding military training. And it's great news that the university has released his post to be replaced in the next month. Thank you to both. That team with Paul's replacement will still be there, we hope, until the 31st of December 2023. The UNESCO chair may continue after that. At the moment, we simply don't know. But what we do know is that we can't continue to rely on the unique support of one academic institution. Since 2016, together, we have consolidated Blue Shield and raised its profile on the international stage. Our current work in Beirut shows that we can deliver. All national committees are contributing to the development of a more coherent and effective organisation, as are the founding four. Once we have got every national committee producing and reporting on annual strategic plans to a common template and presenting themselves with a common visual branding, and once we've all been through a common training course together, now planned again for next September in Prague, we will be in a strong position to start approaching potential funding bodies to help establish that small, freestanding central team. The establishment of such a team must be the priority for the role of president over the next 3 years, and I commit to doing everything in my power to find the necessary funding to enable its establishment and to lay those first stones of the foundations of an international organisation that will really be able to live up to the title, the cultural equivalent of the Red Cross. We have to do that together, but I hope to lead you in that activity. Thank you. There is now an opportunity, we have timetabled a few minutes for any questions that anybody may like to ask of me, having just said that. And I realise that Emma should be actually leading on this bit, not me. So my apologies for that. Does anybody have any questions?
So I don't see any questions in the chat, and I don't see any cameras on and people waving frantically, trying to get us to see you. So just to say, in case I'm not seeing you on Zoom, do put in the chat you would like to ask a question. Otherwise, I'll just check that's not something on my email. Otherwise, I think there are no questions for you, Peter, and thank you very much. Oh, hang on, no. Gerald, is that an indication you would like to ask a question?
Oh, yes, just have one question to Peter. I see we are voting here for the president and for other candidates. You are acting as vice president. Don't we vote for the vice president? I didn't find anything in.
Gerald, your microphone has become muted. We're going to have to ask you to repeat the question.
Yes, thank you. Peter, we are voting here for the president and for candidates. You are acting as vice president. Don't we vote for a vice president? I didn't find anything in the statutes. Could you explain it, please, to us?
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Gerald. Sorry. The post of vice president is something that was created with the approval of the legal team that we have in the Netherlands following the 2017 General Assembly. And it was one of the proposed amendments to the Articles of Association, which we were supposed to be passing at this General Assembly. Because we have had to bring the General Assembly forward and for all sorts of other reasons, we aren't looking at the revision to those Articles of Association. currently, and with the agreement of the lawyers, the post of vice president is therefore, as the secretary and treasurer are board appointments made at the first meeting of the new board, which in this instance we think will be in October. So the reason you can't find anything in the Articles of Association is because there isn't anything in the articles, because it was a post created with legal agreement, but after the 2017 General Assembly, and we should have been adding a paragraph to the Articles of Association, but because we're having to have this before we've done the changes to the articles, that's why you can't find it. I hope that explains the situation. So the Vice President, Secretary and Treasurer will be appointed as internal to the board positions.
Are there any other questions? I'm just looking through for little hands or people waving. Okay, I don't see any more, so do quickly put something in the chat if I'm missing you, but otherwise, Peter, thank you very much. So we move from here to keep the election voting in blocks and minimize the number of times you all had to click on internet links. We'll move directly from here to the presentations from the candidates. We will be doing the candidates in alphabetical order. That just seemed the fairest way. So I would like to pass the floor now to Ki-dong Bai for his presentation. Thank you very much. Ki-dong, do feel free to unmute your microphone and screen share. And I can see your presentation, so this seems to be working well.
Thank you, Emma. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good. Please go.
Oh,
Thank
yeah,
you very much.
okay. Yeah, it's in Korea, it's midnight. Yeah, but I have to say my greetings, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all my colleagues in Blue Shield. Is it okay to you? Is it good greetings to you? Anyway, I am Ki-dong Bae, Director General of the National Museum of Korea and the chairperson of the Korean Committee of Blue Shield. It is very pleased to meet you in person via virtual online meeting. Let me begin with by mentioning how pleased I am to be here as a candidate for board member of BSI from 2020 to 2023. The past 3 years as a board member of Blue Shield International and the Korean Committee of BSI was the years that I recognized its significant role and the challenge ahead. Protecting cultural heritage from armed conflict and disaster is a universal issue that requires a sympathy of humanities. Otherwise, loss of our valuable memory. Though how they should be protected is distinctive from one another. The National Museum of Korea has opened recently a special exhibition of marking the 70th anniversary of the Korean War titled The Museum and the War. Highlight artifact is a bell fragment from the Salim-won Buddhist temple. The bell shows how war can destroy cultural heritage and how it is impossible to return it to the previous stage once it is damaged. As you may well aware, Korea has experienced war and the consequential destruction of cultural heritage in the past. The loss and the following effort to restore and protect its heritage will be a great example to model after. We suffered and feel to share our experience. or experience of damage to our spiritual heritages during the war with all concerned people in the world in Blue Shield. In that vein, implementing appropriate the protection for the heritage in Asia based on the lessons from our past will confirm the initiative of the BSI. Especially applying the accreditation of a training course that I have developed for the last 3 years would encourage disciplined cultural heritage protection and thus consolidate the foundation of BSI in Asia region. I, as a board member, would like to act as a bridgehead that connects not only different regions, but also Asia and Europe under cultural heritage protections. The Korean Committee of BSI, as the only one in Asian region, will be a crucial outpost of BSI. I would do my best to solid influence of BS globally, especially in Asia, expand our influence with the Korean experience. Thank you very much. I'm expecting your vote, positive vote for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kidong. That was a fascinating presentation. So now our next candidate alphabetically is Hamadi Guy, and I hope I pronounced your names right. For anybody whose name I get wrong, I am so truly sorry. Hamadi Guy from Senegal. Hopefully, if you should be able to share your screen, and if not, just let me know and I can do that for you from here. You might also need to unmute. Okay, Hamadi, I can see that you're still here, but we can't hear you, and there's no presentation. It seems the sound isn't currently working. Okay. While we try to work out why this one isn't working, rather than having everybody sit to look at a black screen of Zoom, I hope you'll forgive me if we just change the order slightly to try while we get this to work. Lydia, would you be happy to do your presentation now instead?
Yes.
Lovely, thank you. In that case, we'll move this just along to Lydia while I try to find out why Hamadi's technology is not working. Thank you.
Could you tell me if you see me or not?
Yes, I can hear you and see
Hello?
you. Yes, I can hear you and
Okay,
see you.
thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Distinguished colleagues from the Blue Shield family, I'm aware that my speech is to be short and I will try to deal with it. My name is Lidia Klubsz. I'm a board member of the Polish National Committee of the Blue Shield. I'm a landscape architect and I'm an expert of the Polish Ministry of Culture and National Heritage. I work at the National Institute of Cultural Heritage. I have been working in the Polish National Committee of the Blue Shield since its establishment in 2002. I also supported the activities of an Association of National Committees of Blue Shield from 2008. As a board member of the Blue Shield International, I would like to promote the idea of protecting of cultural heritage in danger and implementing the program of the Blue Shield in Central and Eastern European countries, along with the possibility of assisting in the creation of the national committees of Blue Shield, among others in Belarus, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Moldavia, and other countries of Central and Eastern Europe. I have a lot of experience in this area because for almost 20 years, I have been successfully organizing in Belarus and in Poland the International Postgraduate School Nieśwież Academy for those persons who are responsible for cultural heritage protection and who come from Eastern European countries like Belarus, Ukraine, Lithuania, Latvia, and Moldavia. As part of the lectures conducted during the courses of Nieśwież Academy, the Polish National Committee of the Blue Shield presents to the audience the main goals and objectives of Blue Shield. I also offer another second activity in the work in the board of the Blue Shield. It would be civil-military cooperation and the organization of courses for national trainers who train soldiers. The basis for such activities and proposal is the establishment of the International Center for Training and Research on Cultural Heritage in Danger in Poland, with the significant participation of the Polish National Committee of the Blue Shield and its president, Krzysztof Sałaciński. It is a project of two ministers, the Minister of National Defense and the Minister of Culture and National Heritage. The center has been operating since May this year in Wrocław, and it is a unit of the Ministry of National Defense. The Minister of Culture and National Heritage and the Polish National Committee of Blue Shield are involved in the establishment of the center. My intention is to organize courses for the national trainers who train soldiers, for representatives of the national committees of the Blue Shield on the basis of the center in 2022, and earlier in 2021 to bring to sign the agreement by the International Center for Training and Research of Cultural Heritage in Danger with the Blue Shield International and the Polish National Committee of the Blue Shield on the organization of training, research, preparation of the exercises for the military, as well as development of training materials. Taking into account my experience so far, I would like to represent the area of Central and Eastern Europe in Blue Shield. I also would like to add that in addition to the issue of protecting of cultural heritage in danger, I likewise deal with the issue of historic fortifications. I am the founder and first president of ICOFORT, ICOMOS International Scientific Committee of Fortification and Military Heritage. For more detailed understanding of my views, I refer you to my statement and answers to the questions which have been put to the candidates by the Blue Shield Secretariat. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. I'm kindly asking you for your support and voice. And from my part, I will support Blue Shield International and all national Blue Shield committees with my all strength. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lydia. We very much appreciate that. Hamidi's computer has decided that it does not like him. We're just trying to get him on a different computer now. So I'll ask you to bear with us on that. And if that's all right, I'd like to ask Tanya Park if she's happy to do her presentation now while we just try and get Hamidi's computer working. Thank you.
Is that okay? Can anybody hear? Emma, is that okay?
I'm muted, that didn't help. You're a little quiet. If you could just turn up the volume very slightly, and I can see you but not your presentation, so don't forget to share screen.
Okay, is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So it is early here, 1 a.m. in Australia, and I'd just like to thank everybody for the opportunity to talk now. I'll just read a little bit from my candidate's election statement and where I see the importance and what I'm thinking about the election. So I feel that international relationships with regards to heritage protection need to be strengthened, and there's still much work to be done. Blue Shield, as an example, has worked hard to bring issues into the public arena and is well positioned to work alongside colleagues internationally. The protection of cultural property underpins a society's resilience, and it provides meaning and purpose for future generations, as well as offering opportunity for peaceful coexistence. Australia is a country with immense wealth from cultural property perspective of tangible and intangible heritage, and I think that I bring to the board a perspective which includes ancient Indigenous heritage, also climate change and natural disaster issues, and I hope to take a fresh look at policy and heritage protection from the Oceania perspective. I believe that Blue Shield Australia should create deliberate mentoring and success planning policies and ensure that they are actioned. We will work with diverse stakeholders to develop capacity and create training materials for different circumstances to ensure the raising awareness of the relations with regards to the protection of cultural property. So I'm just going to share with you now a quick presentation. It's very quick. I can just work my computer here. I have split screens. Okay. I'm not sure that it's shared the screen at all.
Yep, it's shared, you're good.
So Australia is a signatory to the 1954 Hague Convention, signed in 1984. Australia has yet to sign the two protocols, and Australia Blue Shield was formed in 2005. Australia Blue Shield places emphasis mostly on natural and human-made disaster. If we look at the slide here, in the Asia Pacific region, we can see that 4.3 billion people, which is 55% of the world's population, reside in Asia Pacific. The red dots there are Korea, Pacifica, and also Australia. New Zealand is contemplating a Blue Shield. So the Blue Shield chapters only represent 70, the ones that we have at the moment, represent 78 million, which is 1.8% of the region, so a little bit underrepresented. The next slide for the type of cultural property for protection in Australia, we can see here the stromatolites in the Pilbara region. It's the earliest form of life on Earth, which is 3.8 billion years old. It's essentially a simplistic bacteria that has formed calcium cases on it. And many people are visiting the sites and chipping away parts of them and putting them on the desks. So it's very important. And this is trying to be protected for cultural property from a scientific perspective here in Australia. This map here shows the vulnerability of sea level rise. We can see Africa in particular, India, China, and the Asia Pacific area is particularly vulnerable to sea level rise in the coastal areas. I've just a little bit of an article from the 2016 statutes, and it just really talks about the protection of cultural property and natural heritage, tangible and intangible, and in the event of armed conflict, natural and also human-made disasters. So I'd really like to say that not all crises are sudden onset crisis, and that there are slow and protracted complex crises that require different approaches, for example, tracking the vulnerabilities and multi-year planning and programming. Apart from conflict, significant threats to cultural heritage exist due to the climate change and sea level rises, with the frequency of hurricanes and typhoons in Australia. Particularly, we have a lot of bushfires. And lastly, approximately 40% of the world's population lives within 100 kilometres of the coast, and 145 million people less than 1 metre above sea level. Sea level is rising 50% faster than it was 20 years ago. For example, the Pacific island of Kiribati sits 2 metres above sea level. They have 100,000 residents who live in Kiribati that in the foreseeable future will have to relocate and will become climate change refugees. However, the United Nations does not recognise climate change as grounds for refugee status. New Zealand recently, in 2017, created a special refugee class visa for Pacific Islanders affected by climate change. So that's my short presentation and what I hope to bring to the National Committee as a representative of Australia. Additional information about myself personally is with my bio that I sent to everybody earlier in the week. Okay, I'll just stop sharing that. So I'm trying to, okay.
Thank you, Tanya. That was great. We're still trying to get the sound working from Hamidi's computer. We've come up with a second option that we're going to try in a moment. So with apologies for the change in order, I would like to pass the floor over to Klaus for his presentation. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, we can hear and see you.
Okay. So, good afternoon again. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present myself and my ideas on why I applied for the board of the Blue Shield International. I will be brief and skip all preliminary remarks on what is Blue Shield all about, and also skip my CV. You can see it from my application form. Just let me point out my connection with ICOM as a former chair of ICOM Germany. I served also on some committees of ICOM, the Committee of Finances and Resources, and also the Committee of Strategic Plan. So I'm halfway acquainted with the procedure and the functioning of internationally composed panels. Please let me reiterate my remarks of my election statement and also my answers to the question I received earlier this week. Well, if elected, I would firstly focus on the cooperation between the national committees of Blue Shield and Blue Shield International. The organization of Blue Shield is anchored by the founding four and also by the national committees, and should benefit from the activities and ideas which were brought forward on national and local basis. Vice versa, the national committees should benefit from the framework and the initiatives undertaken by Blue Shield International, of course. Therefore, a close communication between all partners is needed, also with regard to the creation of new national committees. There are a couple of committees under construction, as you heard in the report of the Vice President, these committees should be brought to fruition. At the same time, Blue Shield International should do some mapping to identify blind spots or areas where national committees are desirable in terms of strategic planning or actual needs. Potential Blue Shield members could possibly be identified by harnessing knowledge or know-how from our partner organization as the Founding Four, for example. But I also want to emphasize that the consolidation of national committees is, in my opinion, as important as the increase of the numbers. Blue Shield International has set up a concise procedure of accreditation, which is to be implemented. To conclude, the liaisons between committees should be strengthened, and the national committees should be encouraged to lively communicate between each other and also with the Blue Shield International. And this process could be probably endorsed by getting a board member appointed who is, together with the Secretariat, responsible for the development of the national committees. A sort of mentoring system could probably fertilize these procedures. Secondly, as the partnering with other organizations, it was also a question, with other organizations, I think that the so far successfully adopted way should be continued the tight cooperation with the founding partners of Blue Shield and the crucial stakeholders from the military sector, from the heritage sector, and also from the humanitarian sector. Overlooking the heritage protection area, there is a considerable number of actors that can be identified. Among them, it is ICROM that should be paid more attention to, since it is mentioned in the second protocol of the Hague Convention as, like the Blue Shield, as a partner of the Committee of the Protection of Cultural Property in the event of armed conflict. The respective profiles of both organizations, the Blue Shield and ICROM, could complement each other perfectly. Another important area is the sector of funding organizations. As it was said, that funding is a crucial issue of the next president and the next board of Blue Shield International. I would suggest to get in closer touch with World Monuments Fund or World Monuments Watch, maybe to give assistance to the review process of projects by sharing expert know-how. To strengthen the liaisons to Africa, and the African World Heritage Fund should be taken into consideration as an important possible partner. Finally, I would like, if elected on the board, of course, finally, I would like to contribute to a stronger dialogue about heritage in danger with both international and national political stakeholders, highlighting the significance of cultural heritage and provide assistance for policy advice by preparing relevant information, example given in form of policy briefs, short policy briefs that do not exceed 1 page. Politicians have to digest lots of informations, Once prepared, such a policy brief could be translated and disseminated by the national committees of Blue Shield to their respectively audience and their respectively parliamentary systems. To sum up, I would be happy if these ideas could help to bring forward the work of Blue Shield International. I would be happy to work on this board. Well, thank you very much for your attention.
Klaus, thank you very much. So, I don't know if this will work. I have Hamady on a phone now. Hamady, can you speak, and we will see if people can hear you. I may have to try the volume, so please, I ask for the patience of the General Assembly. So Hamady, if you speak now. Okay, volume, definitely volume.
Okay, can I begin?
Hang on. I don't even know where the volume is on my phone. Oh, there it is. Okay, say something now. Can people hear? Klaus, you're the face I can see. Can you hear? Can you hear Hamady?
Okay. Can I begin?
Okay, this is not working very well. So not ideal. I ask for your patience. My best suggestion is, Hamady, if you say things to me and I will repeat your words. So hold on. Okay, hang on. Okay, the General Assembly can see your presentation, but they can't hear you, but I can. So if you tell me what you would like to say, and I will repeat for you. I am sorry, I don't have a better solution.
Okay. So the person is that whatever. Due to recurrent conflict and human attack of conflict. Nothing much of a.
Okay, you've gone very fuzzy. This is a bad start. Could you say that again?
I have my presentation.
I have your presentation.
Yes, can I read?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So the people information of the world is more effective than ever. You different conflicts and human attack of all things is mutually different. Therefore, vision to try strategy and actually document protection and welfare.
Okay, hold on. Aware that cultural heritage in all regions of the world is more attacked and threatened than ever due to recurrent conflicts and human attacks of all kinds, not to mention natural disasters. Therefore, it is urgent to deploy strategies and actions to implement its protection and safeguarding. Carry on, Hamady?
Yeah.
Yes?
Okay. In the goal of our international community, we will work toward the creation of national communities and the strengthening of their institutional capacity. Let us regional future communities to better coordinate our strategies and actions in order to optimize our response, particularly to event of natural disasters. Encourage ratification of the second protocol to the high provision of savings for the protection of people participating in the event of armed conflict of 1990 by as many steps as possible. Extend the enhanced protection service of the state formation to leaders in conflict zone established by Article 11 and 12. Work toward an emergency support of leadership by developing cooperation with public authorities, professional education, documentary research, conservation, establishment, and all responsible. Finally, we will undertake, apply, and enforce resolution decisions of the International Committee on the Issue.
Yep. Okay. I will also read that to the General Assembly now to make sure your presentation is seen. So hold on for one moment and I will read that back for the General Assembly. Through the board of our International Committee, we will work towards the creation of national committees and the strengthening of their institutional capacities. Set up regional Blue Shield committees to better coordinate our strategies and actions in order to optimize our responses, particularly in the event of natural disasters. Encourage the ratification of the second protocol to the Hague Convention of 1954 for the protection of cultural property in the event of armed conflict of 1999 by as many states as possible. Extend the enhanced protection status of the said convention to heritage in conflict zones established by Articles 11 and 12. Work towards an emergency safeguarding of heritage by developing cooperation with public authorities, professional associations, documentary heritage conservation establishments, and all stakeholders concerned at national, regional, and international level. Finally, we will undertake to apply and enforce all resolutions and decisions of the International Committee of the Blue Shield. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you very much.
Hamadi says thank you to everybody and he hopes to hear more from you all soon. And with that, I will stop sharing my screen and pass the floor to Nancy.
Okay.
Can you hear me now, Emma?
Yes, you're loud and clear, Nancy. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Last but not least, here I am from the U.S. Committee of the Blue Shield and currently a member of the board of the International Committee of the Blue Shield. My involvement in cultural property protection has been very long. For many years, I was on the board of the Archaeological Institute of America, and for 4 years served as president of that organization, which has around 250,000 members at the moment. All of them subscribers to Archaeology Magazine, which is a journal, a magazine for the general public. We also have a scholarly journal, but the Archaeology Magazine reaches many more than the 250,000 who subscribe to it because it exists in libraries around the world. I also have served for 17 years on the Cultural Property Advisory Committee at the U.S. Department of State. That committee hears requests from countries that are seeking protection of antiquities that have been illegally removed from their country, and the protection is in the form of a Memorandum of Understanding, a MOU, between that country and the U.S. So it allows our customs officials to seize at the border antiquities that are being imported illegally into the country. I would like to point out that when we saw maps of where we have committees of the International Blue Shield, we have very few currently in South America, and I am the only candidate from the Americas, a very large part of the world indeed. I could bring to the board and to the whole committee of Blue Shield International a sense of the diversity of the kinds of activities that Blue Shield committees undertake. All committees are formed under the statutes of Blue Shield International, but their work varies greatly. So that would be one of my goals. Some of the diversity occurs in the types of programming that the different committees do, how much involvement they have with the general public, and different ways in which their committees are organized. The U.S. Committee of the Blue Shield has many ways of reaching out both to the general public. We hold annual meetings, except this year because of COVID-19, at which we present information about cultural property protection. Those meetings are normally attended by general public as well as a large number of members of the U.S. military. We also do training for military personnel, who mainly the ones who are being deployed to the Middle East at the moment. And there's different ways that each of these national committees cooperate with the military and with the general public. So if we could somehow make this knowledge of these different ways that these committees operate, to give frameworks to committees that are considering joining the Blue Shield. It is not, the national committees are not a cookie cutter type of committee where they all have to function in the same way. So I also concur that the second protocol is very important, and countries that have ratified the Hague Convention, many of them, including the US, have not ratified the second protocol, and that is something that we need to work on. I have been secretary and president of the US Committee of the Blue Shield, and so I've been very active in the fundamentals of how national committees operate, and I think I could bring a sense of that to the board and somehow formalize these different ways of operating the committees. With that, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you to all our candidates. So we are running a little ahead of our estimated time, so we would like the opportunity for people to ask questions to the candidates. Obviously, we have a lot of participants here, and with the diversity of languages, if possible, can I ask you to type any questions you have into the chat window now, and then we can deal with them in order, and there's no danger that I will accidentally miss somebody's question as well. But I think we probably have time for a few brief questions for 5 or 10 minutes, if anyone has any. So we'll start with a question from the ICA team, what role do the candidates feel the founding four, ICOM, ICOMOS, IFLA and ICA, play in the Blue Shield? And if it's all right, I will run down the candidates in the same order they gave their presentations. So that question first to Kidongbai. Don't forget, of course, you are currently muted. Please remember to unmute to answer.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I think we should work with the founding four very tightly, because all of those work on the heritage protection and also the promotion of heritage in modern world. So founding four, they assist us to found this Blue Shield organization, and we have to continue our work with those founding four, and also some other organization which would like to protect the valuable heritage for our future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Same question, if I could ask Lydia now.
Okay. Thank you for this question. I think it's very important. And I think that Blue Shield Committee, international and national committees should very close cooperate with this for funding, and we can use this cooperation as experts. We can expert in their areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Tanya?
Hello, I think it's a good question, and I think it's where one of the strengths of Blue Shield lies is able to access the knowledge from very many different founding bodies, ECOMOS, IFLA, and ICOM, etc. So I think it's a very real strength of Blue Shield, and I think it's able to sort of operate very well by pooling all the knowledge from the different areas into the one. So very important.
Thank you. Klaus?
Yes, the founding four offered an excellent opportunity to gather experts to bring forward a network, especially in those regions where Blue Shield is not yet funded. We could found it. The Blue Shield could use the network of the expert of the founding four to do this work.
Thank you. And to Nancy?
As I said, there are many different ways that the national committees do their work. And by working closely with the founding four, they could find various avenues to reach out to the military, to reach out to the general public with the expertise that the founding four provide, and also the different ways that they utilize to connect with these different bodies.
Thank you. And I should have said, and I do apologise, particularly to Anthea, ICA team is Anthea Sellers of the ICA, and that was where that question came from. Apologies for not saying that earlier. So Anthea, is there anything you would like to clarify in those answers, or can I ask the next question? Thank you very much. The next question, which we'll do in the same order, what are the candidates' suggestions for raising funding for the future of the International Blue Shield Board and work that Peter Stone mentioned? I'm sorry, I should also have asked before I move on to that question, was that for the candidates for, yeah, we did. I'm sorry, Emily, we have lost the connection to Hamidi. I'm going to email him the results, and I'm so sorry. Anthea and also Saren, were those questions also to Peter as a candidate for election for president, or for just for the board candidates? And Saren, is that question also to Peter, or is that to the board? Okay, we'll start with the board, and if you would like Peter to answer as well, please just say. Oh, there you go. We'll go through the board and then Peter at the end. So Kidong, what would be your suggestions for raising funding for the Blue Shield?
Yeah, I think there is the critical question to the Blue Shield in the future. So I think the first thing we need to formalize is the memberships in each national committees. So the strength of the national committees will support the Blue Shield International in the future. And another thing is, the random funding from some concerned organization is it's up to the Blue Shield International or the national committees in each countries. However, in the future, we need some kind of a permanent funding for our activities in the emergencies. So for that, I think we expand, our relationship with other organizations in the business and also in the related organization in the international activities. So that is the basic strategy for us to raise the fund for our future. Another thing, if you have a really good idea, then I will support for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Lydia?
Yes, I agree that it is very hard to find money now. I think that maybe we should support the University of Newcastle University to be much more longer the chair of UNESCO. I don't agree that we should have money from national committees, because a lot of committees will not agree for this. For example, these committees from Eastern and Eastern Europe, because they are not very rich people here. And also we should pay money also to our four founding committees like ICOMOS, ICOMIS, or so on. So it would be not a good idea to have money from national committees. I think that we should maybe look for money from UNESCO if our position in the world will be bigger, maybe similar to the position of Red Cross. Maybe it'd be easier for us to have money. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Tanya, may I ask for your answer?
I think that funding is important. It is a little bit difficult. I think that different areas are able to sort of contribute or have the possibility of contributing more than others, which is a little bit difficult. But nonetheless, I do think that funding would really assist. I think here in Australia, I would look at the government funding and its national and local level funding. For example, these large corporations like the Mingaloo Foundation, that they have a lot of philanthropy and things like that. Also industry, so you could look at the mining, large mining companies, and perhaps they could assist as well. So yes, it is a little bit delicate, I think, but perhaps the committees, the national committees, if they are able to explore that, I think it should be excellent.
Can I actually ask you just to repeat the end of that? I'm afraid it went very quiet about halfway through, and I only caught half of it, which means I'm probably not the only person. Sorry.
Sorry, is that better? I'm just getting tired here.
Much, thank you.
I think that it is very important, and I think that funding does give a lot of opportunities. So national committees, if they are able in a position to explore that, then I do think that is a good idea. For example, here in Australia, you could explore that on a national and also a state level. There's also large companies that could be approached, such as the Mindaloo Corporation in Perth, and they could be approached for a sort of philanthropy type of funding. And then there's also large mining companies, for example, they could be approached as well. So I do think it is a little bit delicate, but where people are able to look into that, to access some funding, then that would be an ideal situation. And also for the training as well.
Thank you very much. Klaus?
Yes, here I am. So there are, in my opinion, there are two strategies to be followed up. The one is to seek for funding with the big foundations. There are big foundations in the world devoted to humanitarian and environmental issues. This could be an option. And the other strategy is whether Blue Shield should try to get, like an intergovernmental organization, should get support from different countries. So like ICROM does, from countries that may be inclined to support for at least some years the work of Blue Shield. But well, if I would have a better idea, I will. Well, if I will have a better idea, I will not hesitate to send you an email. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And to Nancy?
Yes, the idea of funding is a very delicate one because we have to distinguish between funding for Blue Shield International and funding for national committees. Many national committees have ways to raise money for their operations. Blue Shield International has, as you've heard, not much money in our treasury at the moment. I don't think that having national committees pay dues to Blue Shield International would be a very good idea. We would have to structure some kind of scaled payment because many countries, as you've heard, would not be able to meet a very high membership fee. One of the best ways that USCBS has found to raise money is that we have individual memberships in our organization. For those of you who are in countries with taxes, our contributions are tax-free. They're deductible on our income taxes. I don't know what the case is in most other countries, but that is one way of reaching out to the public, is by getting a small amount of funding from them. Our individual fee is $50. They can stay in touch and do stay in touch with Blue Shield International. We find that our renewal rate is quite high. So I think the best way to deal with this is to have either a structure like we have in the US of memberships. We have different categories of memberships. So if we want to reach out to museums or other cultural property organizations, we have a way of getting them involved. But as I said, this is going to be a difficult question of how much money the individual national committees raise and Blue Shield International. We have to be very careful about that relationship.
Thank you very much. And then also that question was to Peter.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, fundraising is a profession in itself, and I have clearly failed in most of my career to raise any of the money that I have been trying to raise for various non-project related work. And that's a critical difference. What we're looking for is some core funding to enable us to do our basic work, and to then be able to apply for lots of other project funding. We've been successful in the last few weeks with getting, as I say, just over 92,000 US dollars from 4 funding bodies for heritage. However, that money still hasn't arrived in Lebanon. As a comparator, the first Red Cross plane arrived full of materials and kit and people and associated funding on Wednesday the 5th, when the explosion was on Tuesday the 4th. So that's the sort of difference in scale that we are still talking about. UNESCO have absolutely no money for core funding. They do have money a little bit for some project work, and we had agreed with them that we should be able to get funding for the training course in Prague that was to be held in November. We hope, and I'm talking to UNESCO about being able to roll that over until next year, and that looks good. There are opportunities for core funding from state parties, yes, from large companies, although we have to be very careful about what those companies do and where they get their money, from philanthropists. But we have to be very careful because of our, especially at the international level, requirement to be neutral and independent. So while I prioritize this, I have no view that it is going to be easy, simple, straightforward, or anything else other than extremely difficult.
Thank you very much. Just to check, was that a clear answer for you, Soren, or is there anything you would like to clarify? I will hope that's okay. Then the final question, which I will ask candidates to try and keep your answers brief because we are starting to run to the end of time now. The information and communication of Blue Shield International with the national committees and the public has been improved during recent years. How will the board develop these important tasks of the organisation? I'm just going to copy that into the public window for everyone. There we go, and I will start back with Peter for that and then run back down everybody alphabetically again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I mean, communication is everything. Communication has to be both simplistically put top down and bottom up. So we rely on communication from the national committees on the board, just as the board or the national committees rely on communication from the board. And we all have to get better in communicating with our major potential partners, the military, humanitarian sector, the heritage sector, politicians. So one of the key posts in that small central team in my best dream, obviously a communication expert.
Thank you very much. And then if I could open that question to Kido.
Yeah, as Peter said, the communication is everything for fundraising and the dissemination of Blue Shield speech to globally. I think communication, anyways, our headquarters in the in UK, we need to build up some strategy to communicate with the individual and all the national committees and national committee to be in countries not they don't have any national committees. So at the stage of developing communication system with a kind of a network among countries and between the individuals, I think we need to work with the Founding Four because they have already very strong network system. So I think the next president and the board members will work with the Founding Four, discussing about how disseminate the spirit of Blue Shield or to all the concerned people in the world. So I think that is a way we can do at the immediate stage. However, I think the headquarters, if we have enough money, then we can set up our own system to communicate with all the people who concerned or who like to contact with the Blue Shield in each country. So there is a next stage of a communication system of Blue Shield in the future. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Lydia?
Yes, I agree that it is also a very important task to have a good communication. I think that we shall develop a website. It is quite good now and maybe it may be better. And also a very good thing is the newsletter, which comes each 2 months. I think that maybe we can organize our colleagues in groups with the same interest, and maybe it'd be a good idea to communicate through these groups, or maybe we can organize this group which will be connected with the same area of the world. Maybe like I propose, I would like to cooperate with Central and Eastern Europe. Maybe it's a good idea to organize another similar group. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tanya?
Yes, communication is very important, and I think that the social media platforms, Twitter and Facebook, are actually quite important. I think training of the stakeholders is also very important, and I think it really does come back to the strength of the four-pillar system, which is the founding four, and the communication within. I know that that's a very real strength for Australia here, and for example, parts of someone from a pillar might be talking to somebody in government, for example, with looking at responses to bushfires here in Australia, and they're reporting back to the Blue Shield founding four quite frequently. Also, when we have items that happen internationally, we put a response out to that, and we put that onto the communication through our Blue Shield website. And I noticed that we're working quite closely with Emma and Peter, and they will be sharing our information as well. So I think that's publications, also academic publications, are also a really, really good way of communicating to a wider audience.
Thank you very much. And Klaus?
Well, I'd like to reiterate my what I said in my presentation. I could imagine that appointing a person in the board who is responsible for this communication, especially between the national committees, could help to facilitate this communication. Setting up a sort of mentoring system, maybe partnerships between committees, national committees, could help, or for example, to look for and exchange best practice between the national committees to learn more from each other, could also help to initiate the discussion and the communication between the national committees. And of course, the communication with the founding four is important as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And to Nancy.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted now.
Yep.
Okay. Reaching out to academics is good because then they reach out to their students, but it's not an effective way of fundraising, as I've found. Academics generally don't have a lot of extra money. We really are looking for a large amount of money so that we can establish a permanent home for BSI. Right now, we are very fortunate that Peter is able to get his university to give us that kind of support, but we realize that that cannot go forever. One of the things that I'm thinking we could do is to make a video, a presentation that we could have people download and see, but also maybe have it at a meeting. For example, the Archaeological Institute of America has an annual meeting with hundreds of speakers, and we could have a speaker there who focuses on the Blue Shield and its activities. Most of the attendees are academics, however, but every now and then someone just drops in on our meetings and eventually gives some financial support to the organization. So we need to reach out to, as we've heard, companies, but they can be problematic, but reach out more to the general public in ways that get them to feel that they can be engaged in the organization other than just simply providing money to it.
Thank you very much. Just to clarify for the previous question about support, I have an email from Hamidi, and he says, for questions of support, I suggest UNESCO, ICROM, Francophonie, ECOWAS, who could all participate in raising funds. I did ask him the question now about communication, but haven't had an email back. I'm afraid we have no time for any more questions, although I'd like to thank all of the candidates for their presentations and questions. And if Carl and Peter are happy, I think we should move to voting.
Yes, that's fine. Carl has unfortunately lost his connection and so has texted me to say thank you to everybody and that he will see people soon.
Oh, sorry, just to jump in, Hamidy's answer to the last question has just come in. The board should develop communication activities through local communities. Each communication and information strategy needs to be tailored to the local community or targeted to the specific organisation. There we go, thank you.
Okay, Emma, so to the election.
Yes, please. And on the newsletter, since somebody mentioned it and I have a minute while you all vote, thank you all for engaging in the newsletter. It is what it is because of you, but we do strongly encourage our national committees to send us any news. As you see, we tweet it. We have National Committee Friday on Twitter. Please do also share it out amongst your members and do send us things. We put them on the website, we put them on Twitter, and we put them in the newsletter. I'll be sending out the next one after the first board meeting. So I assume that will be in 3 or 4 weeks when we get the time zones for the board and arrange the first meeting. So 3 or 4 weeks, please do send me your news. Thank you. We have 4 to come in. If we maybe just give it until 17:50, so 2 more minutes. And then I'm afraid I think we should probably close voting. In. Okay, everybody has voted. Here we go then. So I think the fairest way to do this is you all to see the same thing as me. Hopefully you can now see my screen. Close the election. There we go. Congratulations, Peter, you are the new president. And I would like to offer my congratulations to the new board, which is Hamidi Gai from Senegal, Kidong Bai from Korea, Klaus Weschenfelder from Germany, and Lydia Klutz from Poland. Congratulations, you are the new board for Blue Shield for this year. Thank you.
Okay, Emma, thank you very much indeed for that. I don't intend to keep people very long at all. I think everybody has done a remarkable job staying with us for just over 2.5 hours. I thought Carl was being overly optimistic when he said it could be done in an hour and a half. Just a few very quick points. Firstly, thank you to everybody who has attended the General Assembly, and thank you to all of those non-first language English speakers for speaking in English as ever. I was slightly astonished when I was at a UNESCO meeting with Zoom earlier in the week, surprisingly enough, about Beirut, and they had laid on simultaneous translation. If you wanted the English translation, you had to press an icon, which was the American flag, which slightly depressed me, but still, America takes over English. Thank you also to those of you who got up in the middle of the night or have stayed up or got up very early. Thank you for that. Even though he now won't hear it, I want to say thank you very much to Carl Hapsburg, who has been driving a lot of Blue Shield from at least 2008. And he's done an enormous amount of work on our behalf. And I hope we won't let him go. And I hope he will be able to carry out some additional work. Thank you to Emma for everything, but especially for making this General Assembly work so smoothly. As I've said already, thank you very much to Newcastle University for everything they've done to enable Blue Shield to get to where it is. But as I say, we can't rely on that going on too much into the future. We simply don't know. Thank you also to UNESCO for giving Newcastle the permission to establish a UNESCO chair, because from that comes all of this. Thank you also to all of you for your confidence in me. I hope I can repay that confidence and that I don't let you down over the next 3 years. One point, two people, and I now go back to the earlier votings, two people didn't vote for the new strategic plan. If there was a reason for that, then please feel free to email me directly. And if you've got any comments on as it stands, or if you think there should be something added to it, please let me know and we can discuss that at the board. We need to hear your views just as much as you need to hear what we are aspiring to do. We need to get the new board together. We need to outline my ideas, which coincide a lot with that strategic plan. Obviously, we need to build on and add to that strategic plan. We need to develop other partnerships, but most crucially, we need to find the money for that central small unit. So thank you very much, one and all. And I suppose as your new president, I'm allowed to say thank you and goodbye. And that's the close of the 2020 General Assembly. And I hope to see you all in the flesh in Prague next September, So, Jonna, thank you very much for keeping going with that and your team. Hopefully that will work into the future. Thank you, one and all. Goodbye. Over to you. You can close it down because you're the person.
Well, thank you all. Yes, thank you all. Thank you to the board. It's been a pleasure to those of you leaving, to those of you coming. I look forward to working with you, but I'm actually now going to take 3 days off. So I look forward to working with you next week.
Sorry, Emma, thank you. And that's a piece of my scribble that I couldn't read was thank you to those board members who either didn't stand for election or decided or weren't elected at this point. So thank you very much for all of your hard work. And again, it's not my intention of letting you all disappear without me getting you to do more work in the sidelines. Thank you very much for all of your hard work. Thank you again to everybody. And goodbye.
Okay.
I love it, Luciana. That's amazing.
Yeah, Emma. Yeah. Good work. Best.
Peter, gratulacje. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah. Good to all.
It's like on those meetings now when no one's sure whether to go or not. I'm going to end it for everybody.